Welcome everybody. Welcome to Star Wars Culture. My name is Hannah.
And I am Jordan. Today we're going to be talking about diversity in Star Wars. We're talking about how important representation is to the Star Wars galaxy and the movies and the shows and everything in between, as well as with the cast and crew. We will be going into a deep dive into what great diversity we've seen and things that we think can be improved on.
There's a lot to unpack here and there's a lot to talk about. And we'll
Yes.
also be kind of discussing the shocking reality of an experience of an actor in the Star Wars universe could be and the realities that they face. So we have lots to talk about, lots of interesting little thoughts to um, mull over, if you will. But before we jump into that discussion, we have Nick and Claire with us today. We have two wonderful faces with us. Nick and Claire, how are you guys going?
I am fine.
You were fine. Actually, as on that, how are you guys going? Is that an Australian term? How you going?
I don't know. Sometimes I say
Probably.
I've never heard it before.
Okay. Okay. How you going? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Nick, just an FYI, the chat is currently over my face. Hello.
Hold on.
Well, I mean, if people can talk on your face, that's fine.
Yeah, sure. Just talk on
Sure.
my face. It's completely fine. And the Star Wars culture logo is also on my face. This is great.
You know what?
Wonderful.
It just wants to. It's all in your corner. It's all about you today, Claire.
Yeah, just all about me.
Do good. Do good.
But yes,
Well, yes.
thank you all so much for checking us out and tuning in. And you want to get to know any of us more here at Star Wars Culture, you can find us on social media. My Instagram is at tbluepulsar66. And how about everyone else? We got a lot of people with us today. We have like
Claire?
two more people than we usually
Yeah, I
have.
know.
You can find me at Clarice Q Taylor on Instagram, Twitter, and stuff like that.
Amazing. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Raeside, as it's spelled on the screen. And Nick?
You can find
where can
me
people find you?
at NickTK7272 on Instagram or Twitter.
Amazing. Really good. And if you're loving the show, if you're loving this pop culture goss, all about, what's going on in the world, be sure to check out Culture Slate at all your favorite social medias. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. They do great articles, videos, anything, movie, just pop culture related. They've got it covered for you. So be sure to check them out, all at Culture Slate. And if you love our show today, be sure to check out our Patreon. Star Wars Culture Patreon has all this juicy goss on it. We have behind the scenes footage of what happens in our meetings, photos of us having those meetings and how we go through stuff, and of course, some very, very juicy bloopers of stuff that goes wrong, everything goes wrong at some point. So we have some great bloopers of when that happens and hilarious outtakes. So be sure to check out our Patreon for that exclusive content.
Gonna be
Now-
amazing.
It is amazing. Oh, wow.
Oh, y'all are gonna love this.
Oh yeah. So today we've got this fantastic, ever growing topic of representation.
Remember last
And-
week I said we had to talk?
Yes,
We're talking today.
We
got some
prepped you
stuff we need to
all.
talk about.
Jordan warned you, and here it's
did warn
here.
you.
It's today. It's today.
Yeah.
We're talking about representation. We're talking about diversity and why that matters, and do we have enough of it, and all those kinds of big questions. So I'm gonna lay out the question to everyone here now. What does representation mean, and do we need it? Is there enough of it in the Star Wars galaxy, on screen, and also cast and crew with the films and TV shows? So Jordan, I might throw this to you first. Representation. What is it? How do we need it? Do we need more of it?
So for me, representation is just what it sounds like, representing the fact that not all of us look the same. And we want to see that reflected in our movies and TV shows and books and just media overall. And we absolutely do need it because not everyone's a white boy with blonde hair, a good looking white boy.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. We need more of it, and it's very important. as you will
Yeah.
come to discover why.
Yeah, as we'll definitely unpack later on.
Yeah.
Claire, I'll throw this to you now. What do you think about representation? Do we have enough of it in Star Wars, do you think, overall?
Well, I mean, simply we don't have enough representation in
Absolutely.
media as a whole. Most movies and TV shows are about cisgender white males and their families and their heteronormative, the not
We know
gay.
how to speak here at Star Wars.
Yeah,
The not
right.
gay.
We know, yeah, the not gay.
Yeah, love it.
And like, there's not enough representation specifically, getting back to Star Wars, there's not enough representation in media itself, just in general, but specifically Star Wars. Who are the three main characters in the original trilogy? Three white people, cis white people. Two of those three are men. Now, Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, absolutely amazing. Very strong, independent woman. Has been her entire life. I'm talking specifically about Carrie. Her character, Princess Leia, is the same way. And then in the prequel trilogy, we have Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, like Yoda. I mean, Yoda's not white; he's green, but male.
Yeah.
We have one black guy.
Just one.
Not enough.
Not enough.
though.
Just one. Then
Yeah.
you have Lando in the original trilogy, and then you have two black people in the sequel trilogy with Finn and Jana.
Jana? I think
Jana.
Yeah, I think it's
Thank
like
you.
Hannah, but with a
You
J.
could also
yeah.
pronounce it my queen.
Yeah, that too.
Pronounce it like Quinn. I love that.
And then like we have no gay people that are on screen that are on time. So like this is not like okay. So there is a lesbian kiss at the very end of The Rise of Skywalker, but it's like that. It's half a second. It's not. It's that's it. Like it made me freak out, made me feel included. But the problem is, it's not. That's not representation. That's fan service.
Yeah,
and you can't do that.
There's
definitely
a big
difference.
with that. Yeah. Nick, what's your take on this? The representation in Star Wars. Do we need more of it?
I mean, starting back from like the sequels and the prequels and the original trilogy, like seeing how everything has evolved with like technology and all that stuff and the green screens and all, and every focus is on that. But like we had the chance this time with the sequel trilogy to have a lot more diversity with a lot of the stories that could have been told with the characters that we had, which I know that we'll go into a lot deeper later. But like I think it's just like it's always a hit, and I feel like it's always a little step, and I don't know why it's so hard for us to just go there, like we all love Star Wars, and there's no reason for us to be in this run of bickering about this kind of stuff, because it's like it's life, this is real life every day that you see too, like why can't we have it interpreted in Star Wars as well as a norm?
Yeah, exactly. And well, you're right in saying that it's in our world now. Everyone's diverse. Everyone has different cultures, languages, races. There's so much diversity in our day-to-day life that should be being represented in what we are seeing on screen, even though it's fictional, even though it's written, it's not real. It should be a mirror of what we're living and experiencing as well. Okay. Claire, I want to throw this question to you first. And you started touching on it a little bit before, but let's unpack this a little more. Of course, diversity comes in, like what I was just saying, all different kinds of ways, gender, race, culture, language, like sexuality, all that kind of stuff. what do you think is there's a major lack of what you said of gay people,
Yeah.
of people a part of that community, and especially non-binary as well.
Yeah.
And I know Star Wars, we were having a bit of a talk about this the other day, but just you and me, and we were talking about the recently was it a comic or a novel that they just released, and it's a non-binary character.
So they just released the very first non-binary and trans character in Star Wars via the one of the newest High Republic. I have so many things to say. So this is not representation. This is not what it means. Like me, as somebody that is non-binary, I do not see, oh, now we have a trans character. Now we have someone that's non-binary, blah, 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 pronouns. That is not representation. That is fan service and trying to get brownie points with the LGBT community. And honey, that's not how you do it. People like me,
Honey.
honey, people like me exist. And if you want, and like introducing a character and saying, like introducing a character as the very first trans person and trying to get like all of this publicity and stuff, that's great, but that's not really like showing that you actually want to have diverse characters. That's showing that you want to make sure that people see you as having diverse characters. And here's the thing. So if you want a character that is diverse, that is nearly, and I'm going to specifically be talking about the queer aspect of this. If you want people, like if you want a character to be LGBTQIA+, someone that is non-binary, somebody that is lesbian, someone that is bisexual, pansexual, whoever it is, that's great. But do not introduce them and make that, like, don't introduce them that way, and do not introduce them as that being their main characteristic, because
Exactly.
just like this is with me, I am non-binary, but that's not who I am. That's part of my identity, yes, but that's not who I am. I am somebody that works as like I am a tech person, I am a YouTuber, I am a producer, I am a CFO, I am Clarice. I am a person outside of my identity. And introducing a character and having their entire identity be spotlighted, oh, this is the first person that ever in Star Wars that's non-binary. Well, that doesn't really bode well for like the fact that you're trying to show representation. What would have been better, and I hope that Disney people are listening to this, if you want to like actually learn and do this in the future, I hope Disney is listening. If you want to actually represent people and actually have diverse characters, you need to introduce characters and then have them come out. Because how much more interesting would it have been if you introduced these two people that very much look like they're transgender, very much look like they're non-binary, that they do not fit into the normal gender stereotypes and spectrums? How interesting would it have been if you would have introduced them, started this storyline, and through interesting storytelling and the storytelling of the thing that you're trying to push, revealed to people that they are LGBTQIA and specifically non-binary and trans? How about having a character like be introduced in a specific way, and then have them be like having like, I mean, I have problems with people like calling me, you know, the wrong fucking pronouns. And like, you know, and not like, most people aren't going to know that I use they and them. I get that. But wouldn't that be interesting and a good way to teach people that don't understand queer things and people that don't understand, specifically don't understand being non-binary or trans, wouldn't it have been interesting and such a better way to introduce these characters to actually have them go through an experience instead of going, and by the way, these characters have gotten so much backlash because of this. It would have just been a better way to have them that not be like their entire identity, because now going forward, you're only going to see that person as, oh, well, that's the trans Jedi. That's the non-binary Jedi. They're not going to have any characteristics, any character traits that are worthwhile, or any character traits that are actually stand out. Like they don't stand out. Like imagine if, like, let's hop off of Star Wars for just half a second. Imagine and look at the way that they did it in Avatar: The Last Airbender, when they introduced Avatar 1, the very first Avatar. They introduced him and said, this is the first Avatar, but they told a story of how he became that first Avatar, and then that became his identity. See, that is creative storytelling. If they would have said, oh, well, this guy, he's the first Avatar, this is what he is, and then just showed him at his best at what he is, that would have been the only thing that would have like shown his identity. And if you are going to go and say, oh, well, like, oh, I want to introduce a non-binary trans character, and this goes for anybody, and why don't you make the fact that they're trans not their characteristic? If you go and actually build storytelling and like build up a story and had a character that people actually cared about, and then revealed through creative storytelling and throughout many comics and so on and so forth, that this person was actually trans and you didn't know it, and then you fell in love with that person, then you are making people that don't understand non-binary and trans people realize that these people are just like anybody else that have problems, tribulations, ups and downs, like everybody else. And then you actually humanized instead of circusized. Like you made it a circus act. That's what I'm trying to say. Then you're humanizing that type of person. Now, if people still are going to have an issue outside of that, then that's their problem. But making just the fact that they are trans, and I think Disney did it specifically just to do it. And that also doesn't particularly bode well, because like if you are going to have somebody that is like that, and this is the very first time that this has ever happened, that is like, no, that's just not good. I mean, like this goes back into the point that I made earlier, that we had the very first lesbian kiss on screen in Star Wars, and it was a split second just hand shot of like two girls kissing. And I'm like, I don't know who those characters are. I know who they are because I'm a Star Wars fan, and I know that one girl had one line in one of the last three movies, but I don't know who she is. I don't know what her background is. It's cool that she's gay. That's great. But that now is making her entire identity gay instead of building up a character that we actually fall in love with and that we can identify with and is interesting. Like just introducing somebody as that, like that's okay if you want to do it. But the thing is that I haven't read the comic yet. I don't know if it's out yet, and I'm going to read it and see how. I don't know if it's quite out yet, and if it is, let me know. But
and I think you hit something really important there, that if these kinds of issues are told in the correct way, in a creative storytelling way, people that are not as progressive thinking and are not as accepting of these kinds of issues, this could actually be introduced to them in a really good way. If it's they get to know the character, they start to love this character, and then they go on this journey with them once they're emotionally invested into who they are. And they go on this journey with them, whether if they become trans, if they become gay, bisexual, like anything like that. It like what you're saying, it makes them go, oh, hang on, this is just another person. Like this
so
like
one
me.
moment, I am gonna just point out to chat. My name is Clarice. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. Just letting you know, Zeke. Thank you. So they're calling me a man in the chat.
Oh, well, that's not apt for the time.
I sound like a 50-year-old smoker. I understand. I am a dyke. I get it. I understand.
50-year-old smoker. That's so good.
While we're on the topic of like
Yes.
non-binary people, I might as well,
this
like,
is really
these are my
good.
pronouns and I am actually a girl.
Yeah.
I know I sound like, yeah, I got hurt in high school. Other story for another time.
50-year-old smoker. I love that. That comparison is funny.
Yep.
Like
Anyway.
a cup of tea. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what I was just saying, if it's told in a creative way, I think there's room for a lot of love and acceptance to come from these kinds of stories. And I agree with you. I think this character is very much like, it just came out in such an awkward way. It was just like Star Wars and Lucas were like, Disney were like, hey guys, we made a trans character. Do you like us now? Like, look at us being progressive. Like, it was so forced. And you're like,
and that's the other thing.
Okay, but that should just be like a part of the story. It should be just a part of the book. That shouldn't be like an announcement.
Yeah.
And exact same thing with the kiss in Rise of Skywalker at the end there. It's like
That should have been Filippo. I'm just gonna say it.
well, I mean, I would have been down for that. I had that exact same reaction as like, oh, that was good. Like, good on you. But that was completely, again, same feeling. It was just like, oh, I feel like they were like, hey guys, hey, like, this is Disney talking now. Hey guys, we made two girls kiss. Can we be like progressive and everyone like that now? Like, it was just, it felt really pushed on us to be like, hey, we're doing a good job.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, yes, that's absolutely what Disney was saying. But it almost adds insult to injury when half the fan base who watched the other two movies were like, oh, there's some tension with Finn and Poe. You can cut that sexual tension with a knife. Why not put those two together? And they ignored that and said, but Rando, let's go kiss. And so I'm just like, no, thank you. In that context, I'm obviously not saying no thank you to a lesbian kid just because they're lesbians. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if I kick my desk one more time, maybe my camera will or stop shaking.
So good.
Can I say something about that really quick? So the fact that they basically took away two minority men and a possible romance to replace them with a romance between Rey and Kylo is ridiculous.
Jordan's opinion on Raylo. Patreon exclusive.
Yeah. That's
and it sucks because it was one of those things that's almost like, that's just kind of like, it was a given that that's like a typical direction, and it was just like overplayed. Like, I don't know. It didn't feel like, nothing about that relationship felt organic or healthy. Like, if you even want to put any redemption to it, I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah. For me, it's almost like on top of all that, it just seems like Disney was really good at building this gay relationship and then just decided to drop it and be like, lesbian kiss. Like, because I mean, the foundation of that relationship was right there in the first movie and in the second movie. It was in, some of the deleted scenes and in comic books, because I don't know a straight man who's gonna sew a jacket together for his best friend or his bro while he's knocked unconscious. I don't really, like, I just don't see it happening. But they laid the groundwork and didn't follow through. And that's super aggravating,
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, the thing is that, like, you're right. They laid the groundwork for it. And then they took that story arc and that possible story and they threw it out the window because there was more of the fans that wanted to see Rey and Ben together than they wanted to see Finn
Foe and
Pin.
Pin.
I can't speak.
Foe
Yep.
and
They-
I
Pin.
know who those
they-
two are.
yeah.
I love it. Foe and Pin.
They
That's
wanted to
great.
see, like, there was more people that wanted to see Raylo than they wanted to see the Pomance. And they literally cut it. And then they went and built up Finn as this hero, and then they built up Finn as like this hero, this person that was going to like do things. Like he was the very first person besides like Han Solo to hold a lightsaber that's not force sensitive, which he totally is. He totally is. But and then they went and sidelined him because he's
Because
black.
fanboys were being too mean.
And then they go and pair him up with Kelly Marie Tran's character of Rose, which Rose is amazing. She's a great character, and she has so many things to say, and she's adorable, and she's such a good character.
Yeah.
And then what they did is that they, out of nowhere, made it into a romance, and which felt forced too. It felt like it completely felt forced. And then they took away what would have been, by the way, the character of Finn died when he didn't. Like, they destroyed his character by not killing him, because if he would have sacrificed himself to destroy the Gatling gun, whatever it's called, the thing out of Crate.
Yeah, what's that called?
He would have been a war hero, but no, they wanted to literally shoehorn a Finn and Rose kiss in there to make him straight. Destroying like, the thing is that, like, I would have been so okay with them just getting rid of his character. If they didn't want to actually make anything of his character, they should have just killed him. They should have killed him in The Last Jedi. And that was the perfect story element, story point, and plot point that they could have done. And then they didn't fucking do it. It's so annoying. And they've done this so many times. They did this. They said they did this in the Force Awakens when they took instead of having Luke Skywalker come back and fight Kylo and then have the Force separate them and stuff like that. Imagine if instead of Rey getting the lightsaber, it was Luke. That's what everybody wanted, but no, they had to make her the which obviously I'm okay with it in 2015 when it came out, but once the next movies came out, they made that pointless, because then they went and obviously, because a lot of people think that they destroyed Luke Skywalker. I actually disagree with that. I actually think it makes perfect sense that Luke Skywalker is a crazy hermit that doesn't want to ever join.
That's like a whole other discussion.
Whole other discussion. We actually have an episode on that from a couple of weeks ago.
Yes,
If you want to go and watch it, subscribe, go and find that. The video is The Last Jedi is better than you think. And watch that.
And we hit that.
We hit that. Yeah. But like they did it. Then they did it, and then they shoehorn like a lesbian kiss. They go and make it's that I love Disney. I love Star Wars. I love Disney Star Wars. Like, they're doing great things with The Mandalorian. I'm sure that Kenobi and or Rangers and Ahsoka and all of these other projects are going to be great. But what they did for those 3 movies just sucked.
Yeah,
everything felt
absolutely.
so forced. Everything just felt, I don't know, like it had the essence of Star Wars, but everything just felt wrong in a way, I guess is the best way to explain it. Like, it's just nothing nothing felt like it was in the right intention. It was just more so like it almost felt pretend.
Yeah. You could tell it was a film, and there was someone behind the scenes writing that down and listening to the fans and going, this is what I'm going to write to make fans happy, which in turn I don't think made a lot of fans happy.
They just set up a lot of stuff that they didn't follow through with. Essentially, like, that's really all it boils down to.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, don't
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, don't
Real
get me wrong
quick.
too. It's like I understand. Like, I saw something in the chat too about Luke. Like, they did him wrong, and like, yeah, there's parts about like Luke that it's disappointing to see. But I mean,
Yeah.
as I look at that now, with the opportunity that we can get what we kind of want for Luke in storytelling going forward with the gap that's in between, I feel like we can still bridge that to where we can get what we want, and it also makes sense because I can understand him becoming a bitter hermit, like he failed, like and
Well,
getting
the
caught
thing,
up in that.
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think that that's one of the things that I don't think a lot of people understand that. I don't think a lot of people, like, I've gone through a lot of stuff in my life. I have seen, like, and I've studied psychology. I'm basically a psych major. I didn't go to college for it, but I studied psychology for a really long time. And really quick, just to give a synopsis, the psychology of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi completely makes sense. His only nephew, because he doesn't have children, his son, his sister's son, his son betrays him, kills all of his students, his children that he was training, and then turns to the dark side. Imagine the type of mental and like emotional toll that had on him, and it makes complete sense that if that happens to somebody, of course you're not going to want to do anything. Like, that's basic human psychology. And that the reason why it makes sense that he's a crazy old hermit that doesn't want to train Rey and literally just basically screws with her over the first couple days and the scenes is he's like, I'm not going to teach you anything. There's nothing for me to teach. I'm not going to teach you. This is bad. The Jedi need to end. And here's the thing. I agree with him. The Jedi do need to end. They're a horrible organization, and they did not like and this is why I'm really interested in seeing like what they do with like the High Republic and what they do with. It's assumed by a lot of people that Taika Waititi's films are going to be the Old Republic or sometime that's KOTOR related. I hope that they really show what the Force really means, and I hope for some show, maybe even Visions, because we don't know what it is. Maybe what they do is that they show the old lore, because wouldn't it be interesting to have a really cool anime, an old style anime showing like how the Force connects with different people? That would be really cool. And the thing is that like him being cut off from the Force, I like him being cut off from the Force and not wanting to train anybody else and not raise up a new a new generation of Jedi, blah blah blah. Again, first off, he's old. Like he's getting old. I understand Yoda was like 900 years old. I get that,
84,
but like Luke is like human, so they don't live as long. But like the fact that like he went through so much trauma, like his father died, his children died, his family died, like his sister died, like eventually ends up dying to save him and save their children. And like his father was the emperor's pet, and his father fell to the dark side. His family died because of the emperor. Like he has had so much trauma in his life that this was just it was the snapping point. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, and he was like, I'm done. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm just going to go and hide away. And it makes perfect sense. And that's the reason why The Last Jedi doesn't suck. There's a lot of legitimate reasons, and Jordan, I know you're going to go into those of why that The Last Jedi sucks. But from a story perspective, when it comes to Luke Skywalker, The Last Jedi was not the Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi, and The Force Awakens is not Luke Skywalker's story where you get to see him going and cutting up Sith all the time. I think that's going to end up happening when they cast Sebastian Stan. Disney, are you listening to me? In a Luke Skywalker dedicated show.
I think so. And
And even if we see a Luke Skywalker show as an animated series, like Rebels or something like that, we would be able to see this. Because the thing is, like, if they want to do, like, they have so many ways that they could do a Luke Skywalker series where they basically fill in from episode 6 all the way to. Yeah.
I was just gonna say there's 20 years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. They could do a Clone Wars style show and have it be 5 or 6 seasons where Luke is cutting up Jedi left and right and Leia's forming the Resistance and all that kind of stuff and be done with it. But like the movies aren't about them anymore. Like you were
This
saying.
is also true, yeah.
And I think with your point just back there with Claire, when you were saying how Luke became a hermit and he became recluse and all that kinds of things. Kenobi did that. Obi-Wan did that. So he
Yoda did that.
Yeah. It's the trauma and it's just how they had to cope and deal with it.
Like, why do you think Yoda went and exiled himself?
Right? It's like that's not shocking that he's not still kicking around.
And here's the thing. It makes sense that that's the same thing that happened to Luke too. It's the master trope.
Yeah.
It is the old crazy wizard trope in fairy tales. You have I don't think a lot of people realize that Star Wars is a fucking fairy tale.
Yeah.
It is a fairy tale. It is the most tropiest thing. And Yoda did it. Obi-Wan did it. Both of them are masters. Obi-Wan is Luke's master. Yoda is Obi-Wan's master. Luke is Rey's master. Like eventually,
Rey. And can't nobody tell me any different because Finn is a Jedi, and we all know it.
Oh, we know it.
Let's actually
to finish that up. That is the trope of Star Wars: is that the masters go crazy and go and exile themselves. Every single one of them did it.
Yeah.
So why not Luke? It makes sense.
Yeah.
And
why is that shocking?
and that paired with what I said about the actual psychological fact of it, it makes sense. But I guess that just goes over people's heads.
Yeah.
There's a lot of discrepancy with storytelling, and differences that we are seeing that is to be necessary. And switching gears now, and we kind of I'm so excited for this to hear what you have to say, Jordan, because we're talking about storylines, talking about character arcs and whether they feel completed or not. The character and storyline of Finn is something that is very discussed and overlooked, but also not talked about enough, like in the Star Wars world, in the sequel trilogy. And I think that there's a lot to say about it, and there's a lot to unpack about it. So I just want to open the floor to you, Jordan.
Where do I just
Finn? Come on.
I don't even know where to start. There's just so much. I think where I'm going to start is actually the chat, because I have been kind of keeping an eye on it. Someone said, and I'm going to read, I'm not going to say who it was because y'all can see the chat, and I don't want to sound like I'm calling somebody out because of how I'm going to respond to what they said. Let me go back and find it. Focus more on story building, a compelling character plot, whether they are gay or black or not, should not be the main focus. Added representation is not the spotlight, though. I disagree strongly, only because while I agree that if you're going to put black people or any actor of color in a movie and you're just going to do nothing with their character, then you might as well not add them. However, why can't it be, hey, let's add these characters of color and make sure they have important storylines so we get that representation and a good storyline? A lot of people like to think that, and I'm not saying he's thinking this is just how other people who say the same thing think, because I don't know, he didn't really say this is how he thought, so I can't say that. A lot of people, when they say something similar, often think that when we want representation, we want them to sacrifice a good story. When if you hear about how we complain about John Boyega / Finn's character arc that's obviously not true. Um, so I don't like this whole idea of, oh, these leftists who want the tolerant left who wants representation in media, they want a sacrifice story. That's just simply not true. Um, I want Luke Skywalker, Leia-esque characters who have similar heroic storylines, who look like me or a Hispanic or an Asian or anyone else who might also maybe happen to be LGBT. Like they can coexist is the thing. Like the representation and the good storyline can coexist. Um, so
So
when you hear
what?
people, go ahead.
You go. So I was just going to ask if you could change something about the storyline of Finn that we got in the sequel trilogy, what would you change, and how would
I would.
you, if
I
you
mean,
had the
honestly,
pen
I
to
would make
rewrite?
him. I would just make him train alongside Rey. Like I don't understand why that was so hard to do. Or maybe he can have his own separate Jedi journey, oh, separate from Rey. Like, you know, like
Mm,
Rey
See,
goes to
that's
find
that's what
Luke.
I was hoping for too. Yeah.
Yeah, like you could the Last Jedi, Rey could go find is like, I can send to you. You not fooling me. You have the force.
mm,
And she could do a little training with him or send him to different planets and stuff and be like, hey, we're gonna go here, do this so you can learn how to use the force. Here's Tython with the first Jedi Temple. Um,
mm.
on the off chance we can't find Luke or Rey can't find Luke, let's hop on this Seeing Stone and see what we can find. And just stuff like that, I would just, the way I would change it is by making him a Jedi.
Yep. Yeah.
And gay. And in love with Poe.
What did you
Please,
say?
yes.
What did you say before, Claire? Pin and foe. Oh, pin and
Yeah.
foe. Amazing.
It's the
Yeah.
pomance.
The
I've screwed
romance.
that up so many
Yeah.
times. Like like I there's so many
Yeah,
so
there's
many
so many
thoughts.
things to unpack in there.
Like
For me, I just get mentally drained and just like, oh my, it becomes
yeah.
a jarring experience when I'm excited for John Boyega to be in The Force Awakens, get called the N-word for being excited because how dare a black person play a stormtrooper? That did happen once. I forgot what platform it was on. It was probably Facebook or Twitter because people on Twitter are insane. But I was like, this guy's going to be a black stormtrooper and he has his helmet off. I think he's going to betray the First Order. This is going to be an awesome story. You N-word, blah, 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 blah. But stormtroopers weren't black. How dare
how do you know?
You're crazy if you think that. You're
How do you
not a
know?
Star
Yeah,
Wars
how do you
fan.
know?
How do you
Go
know?
go to the camp, go to the stormtrooper barracks and tell me. Have
Right.
you done that? Then you can't
Right.
say you haven't done
Exactly.
that. So
Like here's the thing. So literally, Finn is the first stormtrooper we have ever seen take his helmet off.
Yeah.
Take their helmet off. The only other stormtrooper that we've seen their face was Gwendolyn Christie. That's the only other person. Which other thing, that's a whole other
yeah.
the fact that you had the very first female commander. Like her entire character was specifically made to just sell cool toys. That's what that character was. And obviously that's what movies are. They're merchandise machines. That's what they do. But the fact that she literally had no story whatsoever besides she's like Finn's big bad, but or Finn's foil, is that the story? Yeah, she's like Finn's like Sidious, like whatever. And the fact that he does kill her and he wins, but why? Like, what was their connection? I understand that she was his superior, but you never see that.
Yeah, it was just inferred,
Why didn't we see like some sort of flashback with Finn instead of Canto Bight? Why didn't you have a flashback of Finn explaining what was going on in the First Order?
Yeah.
And him having like a side thing of like explaining and having like all of these problems of PTSD of being conditioned and stuff like that, because obviously he had issues. And like the fact that like he has force powers, and I think that's what he was trying to tell Rey in the Last Jedi, or the last movie, the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like we don't know what he was going to say because they backed off of it, and he's like, "Oh, never mind, I'll tell you later." Like, what the fuck does that mean? Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Nick, they can't hear you. Nick, you're muted.
All right.
You might want to say that again.
Yeah, no. So
there you go.
yeah, sorry. So what I was saying is that what sucks right now is that we as a fandom kind of ruined what opportunities I feel like we have with some of these actors, you know, that with the words that we say on social media and the ways that we've reacted about everything, just everything with racism and just you're just for people being themselves, like it's crazy to a point that any of these stories that we're talking about that we want to hope to happen or see, or Finn maybe training down the road, or Rey coming and training again, like episode 10 or another off movie, might be slimmer because of the fact that like we're causing that problem. And I understand that people have opinions and have the ways that they see Star Wars, but like at the end it's for everyone, and like it's just crazy that we are impacting it to this point, that we have to all come here and obviously it has to be said. All this has to be said regardless. And this is all of our opinions on things as well. But you know.
Yeah. And I think you had a good point there of the fandom. We're the ones that are forcing these actors to hate this franchise and to. I mean, I think there's a lot of background experience, which we're going to get into later on about the actors' experience. But I think as a fandom, we're causing that, and it's so frustrating because I mean I can't speak for this because it's like it's the white, like the cis white males that are being the loudest about it, about going, I hate having Finn here, but there shouldn't be a black stormtrooper. Like that's the loudest voices, which is so.
Well, and then like you also not to cut you off, but then you also have the same types of people that say, because like I know that when The Force Awakens came out, they were like, oh, you're like, there was two camps, there was three camps. There was the Pomance camp, there is the Reylo camp, and then there is the Rey and Finn camp. And obviously we know who won, but who was the loudest? I think a lot of people understand that Disney listens. Like Disney told us The Last Jedi is going to subvert your expectations. It's not going to be a movie. It's not going to be a Star Wars movie that you've seen before. This is going to be different. And nobody listened.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that we were going to see the giant montage that everybody's wanted since we were a little kid, because we've never seen Luke Skywalker fight ever. We've never seen him in a fight ever. He had what, like a 5-minute battle with his daddy. That's it. That's the only thing that we've ever seen. And literally since 1983, we have been waiting for this Mustafar Anakin Skywalker versus Obi-Wan moment with Luke, and it never came. And I think that's one of the reasons why people hate The Last Jedi so much, is because it did not the thing is that, like, I think the fans overpromise themselves,
That's
and I
exactly
think people don't understand. Like
Yeah.
they wanted what they wanted, and Disney was like, well, we gave you what you wanted with the Force Awakens. You didn't like that. We gave you something different. You didn't like that. So then you get, well, I mean, like, obviously, I'm a simp for The Rise of Skywalker. It is literally my favorite movie of all time, but I'm not blind to the problems of it. I think if you take the actual story of all of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker is the perfect ending, because the entire thing is all about, which, by the way, we should have a whole episode of just
Whole episode
why
on
this,
how it's a good ending.
and we
Yeah.
can have Dominic on for that episode.
Oh yeah.
He is the complete opposite thing.
Yeah.
So, like, the thing is that, like, the entire Skywalker saga is about the Palpatine. Really quick, the entire thing is about the Palpatines and the Skywalkers, and that's it. That's it. It makes sense. That's why, like, from a story perspective, and the way that, and I'm a really big fan of Legends, the expanded universe. My favorite storyline is where my favorite storyline is when I literally have Do Not Disturb on my phone right now, and it has an alert.
There you go.
The entire storyline, like, my favorite storyline is Palpatine comes back via a clone, tries to take over people's bodies. That's literally the story, and it makes sense with episode 3 and Plagueis and strike me down, I will literally possess your body. Well, what did Palpatine do to his master? He struck him down, and Plagueis has unlocked immortality. He has figured out how to live forever, but he could not save himself. Well, what does that mean? He could not save his physical form. He could live forever throughout the Force, but he would have to live in the body of his apprentice. And that's the entire thing. And that's the reason why the rule of 2 exists, is because apprentice kills master, master becomes apprentice.
Yeah.
Apprentice then becomes master to find somebody else. That's the lineage. That's how it works from, point A to point B. And the only way to defeat that is to have yourself, like, you have to defeat yourself. You have to get it out. And by Rey Palpatine killing Sidious, it ends that lineage. It makes sense. And nobody sees that except me for some reason. And I've explained it, and it just, people don't agree with me, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what Star Wars is about. The Force literally created Anakin Skywalker to set these things into motion, to get to the point where Palpatine wasn't looking outwardly, he was looking inwardly. He literally created a being himself. He had his son. His son rebelled against him, but was also, I don't think, Force sensitive.
It wasn't.
So then so his daughter, Sidious's granddaughter was, and to save her from this ultimate fate, which Empress Palpatine, in The Rise of Skywalker, you see that person. And she was, and then just like Luke was in episode 6, and obviously Anakin was in episode 3, 6, and 9. Thing, like, you see the dark side of you. Luke almost turned to the dark side. Anakin actually did, and then Rey destroyed it. Beginning, middle, end. So, like, if you look at it from that point of view, you see the fall, you see the rejection, and you see the destruction. And it's poetic. It's like you see it from beginning to end. You see like this entire lineage, and she is literally all of the Jedi. She is Anakin Skywalker. She is Ben Solo. She is Ben, like the thing is, like, it makes sense. And if they would have had her been a Kenobi, if she would have been a Skywalker in the first place, like by blood, it wouldn't have made sense, because it doesn't, from a thematic storyline, I understand people don't like that, but that's what they did. And I don't even know if Disney understands that. I might be the only person that sees that and understands it and can actually explain it in the way that I do, because I have such a deep understanding of the movie. And this is the reason why, and people hate me for this, The Rise of Skywalker is the greatest movie of all time, because it finishes my favorite series of all time in the perfect way, and exactly the way that I personally thought that they should end it. Because what I wanted episodes 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9 to be was the Heir to the Empire series. And I understand that there's different things in that series. Yes, I wanted those books just to be made into the movies. But what's in those movies? Well, that's where, you know, we get Thrawn, but we also get cloning and Palpatine coming back, and Palpatine trying to take over people's bodies. And then there's like the fan theories that go into the idea that Palpatine created Anakin to possess him when Anakin struck him down. And that's the reason why that's why Anakin, like, that's why Palpatine in episode 3 said, strike me down, kill me now, is because the second that happens, he can just go and take over Anakin's body. And then it makes sense, and nobody sees it. Like, if Palpatine killed Plagueis and Plagueis became Palpatine, they like, because that's just like the logic from episode 9 is put into episode 3 and obviously before. If Anakin kills Palpatine, then Palpatine has the ability through this immortality force power to take over his body. Then it totally makes sense. And that's the reason why when Palpatine was hurt by Mace Windu and Anakin didn't kill him, and he was then eventually hurt and, you know, decrepit and became Darth Vader, and he was in the suit. Yeah. Why would Palpatine want him to do it? So then he waited for Luke and asked Luke to strike me down. And that's the reason why he was trying to egg him on in episode 6.
Yeah.
Strike
like,
me down now.
Come on.
And this also makes sense, because when in episode 4, Obi-Wan says, strike me down and I will become more powerful than you could ever possibly imagine. He's not talking about the fact that, like, he's just going to become the Force. He's literally talking about the fact that he is going to become Rey Skywalker. Yeah. And Chad just says, when you explain it like that, I understand your opinion. It's not an opinion. This is literally what happened. And I don't know if anybody else sees this. And this is the reason why I wear this shirt all the time, because literally The Rise of Skywalker is my favorite movie ever. And it makes so much sense. It completes the entire Skywalker saga. It is the perfect conclusion. But there's a big but. They fucked up Finn. They sidelined all of the minorities. They destroyed their possibilities of like what they could have become, and it would have been such a better movie outside of that. Me liking a movie for its story of like what it's actually about is different than me liking the movie for what happens in it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking on sidelining the minority characters, I've also run into people, and by people I mean actual friends of mine, who, when I discuss my frustrations with how Finn was treated, will fix their mouths to say things like, well, Finn was a side character anyway. And my thing is, even as a side character, that wasn't enough. Side characters in the original and prequel trilogy got way better treatment than any side character in the sequels, in my opinion. So I don't really want to hear that, you know? And
you can feel that imbalance. Like, I think that's like, I actually really do love all sequel movies for their own reasons, but I think that's the one thing I don't like, is that imbalance. You can feel the writers and the behind the scenes go, oh, we'll make Rey here. Oh, everyone likes Kylo. Okay, we'll pump him up. Oh, okay, no one's liking Rose. Oh, okay, we'll bring, like, you can feel them panicking and trying to figure out the amount of stories everyone should have, where it's like they should be set out from the start. It shouldn't be that you can really feel that imbalance. And I know what you're saying, that it's he did get totally sidelined, but it's like, yeah, it's like even more than a sideline. It was just it felt like a total write-off for me. Like it's
Yeah. And
during
the
Rise
other
of
thing was,
Skywalker. Yeah, you
yeah,
can
and the
just
other thing was part of, in the defense of Finn, and part of that argument was, I mean, what did you make a big deal about him holding the Skywalker saber in the trailers and in the movie
yeah,
when The
yeah,
Force Awakens
Yeah,
came out?
exactly.
yeah,
Or if the payoff at the end of the trilogy wasn't gonna be great. And then
yeah.
of course I get, well, that, just because it's a Skywalker saber doesn't really mean that's important. Really? Because after The Force Awakens came out and Disney was marketing it as Rey's lightsaber, those same people threw a huge fit. That's not Rey's lightsaber. I thought it wasn't important. If it's not important, then don't bitch that it's called Rey's lightsaber.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
fans literally flip-flopped and Disney listened, and then Disney flip-flopped and it
Right.
And you can feel it.
ruined
You can
it.
feel the flip-flop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
for
look,
me, for
Yeah.
me, and another situation that happened, or um, I'll explain it and then I'll say what I had to say. John Boyega had his GQ interview where he talked about how he felt like more characters were getting better treatment over others, and he knew exactly why. It's because of this right here.
Mm.
Um, and people were telling him to stop complaining. Fans were telling him to stop complaining, and that he should just be grateful that he was in the movies to
at
begin with.
all. Yeah.
Mm.
Mark
Mm.
Hamill, in press interviews for the movie itself, was telling people how he didn't agree with what was being done with his character, and people felt bad for him.
Yeah.
You feel bad for Mark, but John Boyega needs to stop bitching.
Yeah.
That
And
plus what I talked about
it's-
earlier with the lightsaber, that just tells me that you don't want black people to have an opinion, and that they just need to shut up and be grateful and do what they're told. And that is a problem. And people can sit there and look at me like I'm crazy if they want to, but that's just the bottom line. I deal with it every single day.
And it's not even the excuse of like, oh, he's a legacy character. Like
Right.
that's not an excuse. That
No,
straight
it's
up is
not.
not an excuse at all for any character. Like, yes,
Yeah.
I respect and I love Luke and I love Mark Hamill. Like, he's a great guy and humble, but it's like there is a huge difference in the treatment and how everyone reacts to if it's the same. It's like almost the same argument they both have.
Yeah.
But just because of our the color, it's
Right. And
it's
another
not serious.
issue, yeah. And another issue I have with the fandom, and I'm gonna try and keep it somewhat PG, but um during during the time between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, um John was on social media. He was on like Instagram or something, and somebody asked him. It was after Rise of Skywalker. It was like right after. It was like the movie had been out for a while. Everyone who wanted to see it had seen it.
Mm.
And excuse me, I'm just so all types of ratchet. He Somebody asked him on one of his Instagram posts, hey, is Finn gonna try and what's gonna happen with Finn and Rey now that Ben is dead? And he basically was like, oh, they can hook up now. And people thought that was sexist and disgusting and how dare he, and they were trying to cancel him essentially. And one of my own friends even said that it was very sexist and misogynistic, and that he shouldn't have said that. But the Reylo fan base was on Twitter and had been on Twitter since 2015, making fan art of pregnant Rey and her sitting on
Yeah.
Kylo's lap on the throne,
Yeah.
and talking about how they can't wait for Kylo to F the S out of Rey and make her pregnant. And a lot of their fan theories and fan fictions diminished her role into just bearing Kylo's children. And but like they were allowed to do that, but those same people were complaining about John Boyega, and like some of them even call him racist slurs. And it's just like, I just don't understand what the disconnect is. Like, why do you get to go and do that, but he doesn't get to make a harmless joke about, oh, I get to, Finn gets to hook up with Ray finally, you know?
Yeah, the hypocrisy in that
Yeah.
is shocking. I think that's really prevalent in the Star Wars fandom as well. Is someone might be really like, oh, like that's not okay, get really aggressive and outwardly thinking about one issue, but then if it's the same kind of issue with a different character, they'll be like, oh no, but that's not okay for my character,
Right.
like in terms of the fans of like who they like and who they don't like what you're saying, like Raylo fans will go crazy over that, but then the second Finn has anything to do with it, yeah, of course, like, oh no, that's gross.
Yeah,
Like
and it's
that's
just like,
that's hypocrisy.
yeah. And they tried to like basically ruin his career and all this other stuff. And I'm like, that's not cool. It's also
He's actually doing good. What movie is he doing at the moment? He's actually doing really well, John. Actually, at the moment,
John Boyega is booked and busy.
He's like killing
it. Keep it at that. He is booked and busy.
Yeah,
no weapon formed against him shall prosper. It will not prosper ever.
That is really, really true. And I think in this same kind of breadth of a conversation, the diversity of the ethnicities that we're getting through the Star Wars series and through the sequel trilogy, and maybe we should think about how can we positively, if we were the writing team of the next Star Wars series or movie, how can we or people positively incorporate diversity and representation of different ethnicities, races, sexualities, genders? How can we positively represent that better?
I think
have the people that you are writing, have the people that are writing the characters be those types of characters.
Yes, absolutely. Because that was going to bring up another one of my
have
points.
Black people write about Black people, have trans people write about trans people, and so on.
Yeah. And that's not just writing. That goes with makeup and hair.
Yes.
And all that kind of stuff. Because there was no reason John Boyega should be rocking that half fade afro thing he had in the first movie. And it
didn't look good either. Like a lot of these
hairstyles on these predominantly white movies on these Black actors half the time don't look good. Take the CW Splash. Candace Patton at the beginning of that series, seasons 1 and 2, that lace girl. I'm about to get ghetto,
honey,
because her wigs or whatever was going on were not great. And they knew it, but they didn't know how to do it. And even young Black girls on Disney today still have that same issue.
Yeah,
Sky Jackson was on Jessie, and after the show had been done and she was doing interviews, after the fact that she was able to speak more freely about it, she had to basically fight every week for them to get a hairstylist to know what the heck was going on with her hair. Why does it have to be a fight? That should just be like, either learn how to do Black hair or find someone who does. Don't assume because you went to cosmetology school and you were doing white hair or non-Black hair that you just know how to do everything. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, and I think you've got a good point there that the diversity needs to come into all aspects of the production. Yeah, it's not just
like cast. So I have a very specific point of view on this. As somebody that has worked in the film industry for many years, and I've seen it, I have been on sets where 98% of the people are white. And like I did a show that I was a PA for a show. I'm not going to say which one it was, but it was a show specifically about a minority family. And the makeup people, the director, the writers, the stage hands, every single person except the people on screen were white. And I literally went up to like one of the makeup people and I said, who did this person's hair? And they're like, her. And I'm like,
She did
you
it
do
herself.
realize you no. It was some white hairstylist that
They
did
were they were saying her, and then the white.
Yeah, no. No. And I said, you do realize you did it wrong, right? I literally got fired for that. I got kicked off of set because I went and asked like somebody. I'm like, you do know that like that's not. I'm like, why?
Right.
Like I was questioning this.
And they, and
then what's funny is that show aired and people had the exact same reaction to it. And I literally got an email at one point and they said, we should have listened to you. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm just a PA. And mind you, I am white. I am Wonder Bread white. I am
Wonder Bread.
Bread. That's a good.
I am Wonder Bread white. I am English, French, and Welsh and German. Like I am Wonder Bread white. And it's just.
Yeah, Nick, what is your take on this question of how can we implement more diversity into the production? And I think of specifically Star Wars productions. What would we change? What do we want to see?
I mean, exactly where we've all been touching on already is like the stories, the characters that we should see going forward should just be diverse. Like just be a cast of, all types. Like there's no reason why 3 of the main heroes need to be of a white background all the time in a way, or if we do get to a point where we're like how we were here, where we had like 2 in a way that weren't white, but you still sideline them, yet we still had a whole 2 trilogies of characters that have teams together throughout all the stories. Even though they split up, they're still equally in the movie and in the frame, getting the same kind of amount of story time. And the other thing that just like
the other thing is that I think a lot of people see the original trilogy as perfect, and it wasn't either. Because look at the representation in that movie. Wait a second. No, there's actually there's not 4. So how many black people are in Star Wars? I think it's 5.
5.
We have 5.
Let's do a head count. Want to do a head count? We could do a head count.
Head count.
5. That's it. 5. That's
I'm doing a head count. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yep. So Finn.
Jana.
Yep.
Mace. Lando. And Hannah. Please say the last name. Please say his name.
I forgot. Hang on. Wait, I forgot. I wasn't counting. Panaka.
Yes.
Panaka. Sorry. Panaka.
5. That's it. And people think that the original trilogy is progressive because Lando is black, but here's the thing. I understand that movie was made in the 70s and
it was progressive for that time for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it should be given credit for that. But once you got into the 90s, and I mean, technically, well, okay. So you have 6 because
who's the 6th?
Fuck. What is his name? Oh my God. Jar Jar. What is his name? What is the actor's name?
Ahmed Best.
Thank you. I blanked on his name. I'm so sorry.
Jar Jar. I was like, Jar Jar isn't black.
No, Ahmed Meskit.
He's a gun.
No. But that's it. That you have 6 key actors, and obviously Jar Jar is animated and is
but
pale
still,
and orange.
Yeah.
But he's played by a black man.
Mhm.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
your entire diversity, and you have
There's what, like 500 Star Wars characters?
500, yeah, something like
yeah,
that. And you
something like
have
that.
5 black people. You have 3 Asians, and I don't think you have
Yeah. Actually, on that, Rogue One. What do we think of Rogue One and its diversity?
I don't count that as that one. I actually put it in its own box, and I actually kind of forgot about that. I forget about the spin-offs.
So do I.
So-
I only
yeah.
thought about it like 2 minutes
I
ago.
don't. Rogue One is the best Disney Star Wars movie ever. Sorry, Claire. But-
No, I actually agree.
It's facts.
No, it is. Here's the thing. So Rogue One is the best overall movie from beginning to end in every aspect.
Oh, y'all. Hey, real quick. We're rude. We forgot Saw.
Oh,
Saw is black.
Saw, damn it. Oh, that's actually
Thank you, extremely low budget
Thank
productions
you.
in the chat.
Thank you. I appreciate
That's
Sasha
this.
was
really
like-
bad.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
You're right. So
You should,
like
I'm gonna give him points or something.
Point.
don't know.
Do we have a point system? Let's make
I
one.
don't know.
I don't know.
Points? I
We'll
don't
give
know.
them
There are Patreon supporters, so maybe we'll send them a message saying thank you. We'll have one of y'all send to them. Actually,
yeah.
Question:
I'd do
what
that.
are your extremely low budget productions? What are your pronouns? Because I don't want to. We don't want to assume.
Yeah.
Get back to us with that. Because it's on like a delay.
Oh, okay.
So and I'll read them off when I see it. But yeah, no, you're right. Saw 2. So
Saw.
there's 6.
Six.
Six.
That's really hard.
And
And
the thing, like, I mean, yeah, like I mean,
not good enough.
it's not good enough.
It's
That's
not
good
good
enough.
enough.
It's
No,
not good enough.
absolutely
Yeah.
not. That's why I'm just like O'Shea Jackson Jr. and Moses Ingham in the Kenobi series.
Oh yes.
Oh, it's great.
Please be great.
Oh,
Please
Yeah.
be great.
He and him. Okay. Well, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, I
had to ask.
because as Clarice has said multiple times throughout the show, Disney listens. Okay.
Yeah.
Now Disney listens. So Moses and O'Shea should be the best written characters in that
hope
whole
so.
damn series.
I
Yeah,
mean,
As far as
like,
I'm concerned.
okay, so like other diversities in Star Wars, Oscar Isaac is
Guatemalan.
Guatemalan, and then
Can someone confirm
Rosario
that?
Dawson. Yeah, I think he is. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. I'm white, so I'm probably wrong. And then I just looked this up, so I wasn't right. Rosario Dawson is Puerto Rican. Like that's the extent, and that's it.
Guatemalan. He's Guatemalan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just confirming.
So like, let's see. I mean, Yoda's white because Frank
Yeah.
Oz.
Frank Oz. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Um.
Bottom line
yeah,
is just that there's not enough. There's not enough.
It's not
and
enough. It's just not
Yeah.
enough.
we
We're getting
there's
there because
yeah,
so
there's
much of
getting there.
Mandalorian and Kenobi are hiring these actors and doing a good job. Like Pedro Pascal is doing a good job as a Mandalorian.
And
So
Pedro
I mean,
is
we're getting there, and I wish I could say the same about Cara Dune's actress, but we're not gonna go there today.
No.
I don't have
I
the bandwidth.
Simply
for
do
that
not have
today.
the energy or the time to
my-
go there today.
Wait 1 sec. We actually have another one. So by the way, the spin-offs are doing a good job.
Yeah.
Because we have
Oh my God, we're forgetting so many people.
so many people.
I'm a bad one.
But here's the problem. I can name the top 6 white actors and actresses in Star Wars, but I can't name 10 black people.
Yeah.
But this is the problem, is that we are forgetting people, and I am not going to try to
Typho?
say
Typho?
Typho, yeah.
Typho.
Typho.
Like
Oh,
Moff
it's a-
Gideon. Like
Moff Gideon?
I I love the actor that plays him. I am not going to try to say his name with my white tongue. I will fuck it up.
Yeah, he's yeah, yep. I totally feel that.
James Earl
I
Jones.
just like I want to talk
James Earl
James
Jones.
Earl Jones.
Okay.
And can we
Yeah.
talk about
Cool.
Callus? See, that's a
Oh,
that's a
That's
that's an
an
Agent
interesting.
Callus, his
Interesting.
voice actor, played Martin Luther King in a whole Martin Luther King movie.
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
One sec.
David
I need to
Young-
see it.
Oh, I'm not even. Let's not do that.
So yeah, for Callus's voice actor is black, correct?
Yes.
And Callus is a very white male.
Yeah.
See, this came out a couple of months ago with, I don't know if you guys have watched or familiar with Big Mouth, the Netflix show, animated series, and there is a half black, half white girl who was voiced by a white female, and they recast her. Even they're like couple seasons in, but they recast her to be voiced by someone who's half white and half black. So they to respect that of that character. And I even though it's an animated series, I thought that was really, really admirable to do that. And do you think that could happen in Star Wars as well? Like, I mean, Rebels is over, but
Unfortunately,
I feel uncomfortable. I feel very uncomfortable that Callus is voiced by someone who's black. That's
yeah. I mean, like, do you feel uncomfortable in the sense that, like, why are they using this black person to voice a white character when they could have just
like why do they have to make Callus white? Like that's my issue.
Also
It's
true.
like why?
Like,
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I just wanted to make sure we clarified that so people weren't like, "Why is she uncomfortable with the black person act?" Like, I just
no,
didn't
sorry,
want
yeah,
that to
it
happen.
was to clarify that. He should Callus should be black then. Like that's
Yeah.
he shouldn't be hidden behind that character.
Yes.
We have gone through a lot today, haven't we?
We sure have.
Yeah, we have.
It's, I feel like
Just a
we hit a
little.
few of
Just a
those
little.
big questions. Yeah.
Yeah. With that being said, thank you all so much for joining us for this almost 2-hour chat. I think it's been 2 hours.
I have no
much.
idea, no sense of time. Yeah.
Yeah. Is
Hour
it?
and a
It hasn't
half.
really been 2 hours.
An hour and a half.
It's
Just
Hour and a
about.
half.
Yeah.
That's
Hour
decent.
and a
Well,
half.
Yeah.
I think that there was a lot of important stuff needed to be said, and that
Yeah.
there's so much need of more diversity and representation in Star Wars, and
Yeah.
we need to see more of that. So I think it was
definitely.
great discussion,
agree.
guys. It's
Yes.
so good
Yeah.
to talk to you all. Yeah.
But thank you all the same for joining us on this very special episode. Thank you, Claire and Nick, for joining us from behind the scenes.
Yay.
It was fun.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you're watching us on YouTube, and follow us on Culture Slate over on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, all at Culture Slate. We will be here every Wednesday, 4 PST and 7 EST for us Americans.
And then if you're Australian like me, we're going to be here 9 a.m. every Thursday. That's Australian Eastern Standard Time. And a reminder, go check out that Patreon. There's honestly just maybe we should give a teaser one week of like some of
We
the
definitely
little
should.
bloopers that happen, because it's just hilarious.
Yeah.
And we've got all kinds of photos and behind the scenes footage there that you can go check out our Patreon. And be sure to check out Culture Slate at all social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Yep, those are the top 4, all at Culture Slate. And you can also follow our Star Wars culture at Instagram too, and you can find little inside moments of the cast and of the crew of us here doing stuff for the show.
Sure, we'll have some. We'll have some after today.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
we will. So that's it for us from Star Wars Culture this week. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week. May the Force be with you.
Always.